Deanna, this is feedback for the interim submission of the hotel project. Assessment criteria for this particular aspect of the project are a clearly identified concept, explanatory annotation, a fully resolved plan, a visual explanation of the design proposal, and materials, finishes and products. Your presentation would have benefited from including your initial concept boards and a wee bit of an explanation as to the client, the target market, or even your intentions for this particular project. Only by looking up your report did I identify your client, which I then remembered you'd been talking about. So again, I think it's useful to incorporate this information for the viewer of your project. First of all, when I'm looking at your presentation, I'm drawn to obviously the coloured page. So I'm looking at the selection of materials, finishes, some furniture, and your 3-4 little sketch illustrations which highlight where you're putting some of the finishes but really don't give a good idea of what's happening in these spaces that you've created. They're just a bit too lacking in detail, and I'd like to see more in the way of exploratory sort of sketch illustrations that really show the volume of the space. I think part of the issues with some of your perspectives is you maybe not started off with the right height line, and certainly your 2-point perspectives, the vanishing points are far too close together, hence the reason that your booths in the restaurant area look weird. The images of the materials and finishes that we selected hint at some nice interior spaces. Again, I think it'd be useful to very quickly put together a more comprehensive scheme board for each of your areas that you can then use to work up your finished illustrations and your finished plans. Looking at the plan, the ground floor plan is workable. I'd like to spend a wee bit more time looking at the sort of layout of the furnishings and the type of furnishings that you're putting in for your coffee shop snack area. But the sort of entranceway into your reception with their space, and then your new doors up into the existing stairwell, they all seem to work well. You've managed to work your office wall area into the window framing, which is good. Again, I think what I'd like to see is I'm looking at your sketch visual, again, more thoughts about different views within that space and what you would be seeing. And these are things that hopefully you can either work through in your sketchbook, but definitely try to illustrate in your sectional elevations of the building. Again, just looking at the office, let's make it a workable office space for somebody to work in. So it might just be for one person rather than squeezing 2 people in against the wall. Let's show some consideration when we're doing a lot of your sort of planning activities. So we come upstairs into the kind of orientation area outside the lifts, which seems to work well. You've got your entranceway into your restaurant, and again, restaurant, no problem with that. Kitchen area, you might be able to sort of allocate a wee bit more sort of space to that, or if you are going to put your work surfaces and things and make them more sort of more considered to the sort of layout of the kitchen. I know it wasn't part of the brief, but since you've incorporated that in, also look at in and out doors for the staff rather than the 2 doors swinging on a single hinge there. I'm just looking at your lounge bar area off the lifts and then into your bar area. So you've got 2 bars. Is that essential, do you think, for this sort of space? I see you've got 1 bar that's accommodating the restaurant. If you carefully position your bar, you might be able to make it work for both spaces. I think that's something to sort of look at. The bar area as well, have a look at your sort of furniture layouts. Consider the amount of people that you'd want to be putting into that space, and make it more practical from the point of view of if it is going to be used for sort of staging events as well. Watch your columns in relationship to the positioning of your bar counter. You've got 1 bang in the middle of the bar counter there. Again, that might be another reason for thinking about where you're positioning your bar. Your stage area, good idea, but yes, it's against a window wall, so you might want to think about where you're putting that, and also the space between the stage and the window, a bit of dead space. And again, I think it's about thinking about how often will a stage area be used. Is this something that could be furniture until there's an event sort of happening? Just looking at your toilets, the cubicles in the females look a bit tight, but the other thing is that we're having to go through the lounge area to get to the male, and vice versa. You're going from the bar area through the lounge to get to the females. Maybe have a look at the access points for both of those, or again maybe rethinking this wall between the lounge bar and the bar area. I think in the most the kind of plan works. I think if we have an opportunity to sit at the drawing board with maybe a sheet of trace of paper and have a wee discussion about how we can make improvements to this, and then start to really work up a set of finished drawings that fully detail all the ideas that you've got and that you're illustrating in the presentation boards that you've presented today. Thank you.